Welcome everybody, welcome to a brand new video. Today I'll be doing my predicted 22s for each side. This is in response to articles that I don't think are the greatest coming out with the 22s. So one of my big bits of planning is obviously finding out who is the best 22 and what the makeup of each sides are. So I'm going to show you what I've got for each team. I've tried to do the best I can. If you differ with me, that's fine. Make your own 22s, but it's just to show you and highlight which players are actually going to make the 22 and which rookies and are good to pick, as well as looking for role changes. So without further ado, let's crack into it. So the first team we've got is the Adelaide Crows. The Adelaide Crows don't really have much change from last year, which is disappointing. We thought would be getting lots of rookies through Adelaide. Not the case. I don't think the side that they're going to put out round one will have too many. I think we'll get James Rowe, which will be good. He looks like he'll be a okay scorer in the forward line for us. So we've got Rowe. We've got Rowe over here. Highlight. Yep, there he is. Rowe. That will be good. But other than that, there's Butts, but key defender paying that money. And I've highlighted the players that are under injury cloud in the orange and chances to play in the yellow. So that's what I have for Adelaide. Nothing too exciting. I think Rory Laird in the middle. We already knew that. So that's Adelaide. Not too much to write home about there. All right, let's crack on to the next side, which is the Brisbane Lions. Brisbane Lions have a very settled lineup as well. Don't know who's going to get their last bench spot. It could be any one of those guys in yellow. I would not be surprised to see line up there for round one. Hopefully it's Eli Smith or Harry Sharp. That would be really good for us fantasy coaches. But there's definitely opportunity there for the Brisbane Lions. Other than that, I've put Jared Berry into the middle, replacing Dwayne Zorko. I think that role was going to be Cam Rayners, but he's done his knee, so we won't see that there. Other than that, there's not too much. Tom Fullerton. I think he will play round one as backup for McInerney, so I've got him there. Otherwise, because that was Darcy Gardner's position, but no, not Darcy Gardner. He's in the back line. McStay. McStay was the one that went down. I think they'll replace him with Fullerton. And Joe Danaher's in the forward line. I don't think Fullerton will score that well, so I don't know what to do there. Unfortunately, we seem to have been blessed with plenty of rucks, so we're going to have to weigh the options up. All right, on to the next side, Carlton. Carlton have a few players under cloud, so they might not all get up. So there's that. So there might be some opportunities there. There's a few injuries here on the side as well, and I've put Gibbons on the wing. A lot of people don't expect him to play. I just don't know who else they've got really that is jumping out at me at the moment to play in his place. And he did play wing last year. Obviously, once Williams comes back, he'll be first out as long as all these injured players, well, it's really only Nunes actually because the rest are key position players. So I don't think he'll get one of those spots unless they slot him in the forward pocket because they don't have enough tall forwards. Oscar McDonald will slot into here if one of these guys don't get up. That's an easy one. But the key position players, I'm not too fussed about looking at who's going to replace them for fantasy because they're never relevant anyway. With the Blues, I don't see too many opportunities for rookies. We got Paddy Dow. Where is he? There. He's on the bench. I always put the first bench spot as the fourth midfield rotation. So sometimes there'll be some players on the bench, but the way I see it, four players normally go through the centre bounce, and the fourth one that I reckon I normally put in that first bench spot to put into that rotation. So Paddy Dow. The other thing with Paddy Dow is obviously Carlton play first, and I've been thinking about this a lot. How we've got to do this lockout. I'm really off Paddy Dow now because if you have him in he plays that Thursday night game, we'll only know the Collingwood and Western Bulldogs side, and it'll be very hard to start flicking around players if need to. If it comes to light that we need to change our teams because players don't get named, and I think it'll just be a lot harder if Paddy Dow's there, and I don't think he'll score that great anyway. And if he does, he might be a downgrade target. So that's my thinking with Paddy Dow. The other thing with the Carlton players is make sure that you want to pick them. They've been on your radar, not a speculative pick, because as again, we'll only know one set of another teams when this game starts, and it will be hard to move your side around if you have players locked in after this game. So if they're a Carlton or Richmond player, make sure that you are all in on them before before they play, because when it comes out and we start seeing more teams, I've got no doubt we'll need to start changing around, and it'll be a lot harder with these guys locked away. All right, on to our next side, which is Collingwood. Collingwood as well have a few injuries, as well as a few players that might get the call up. So here are their injured players, and then I've put Sire, who I think I read today was in the B grade midfield, so that might be like the best of the rest. It was an 18 versus 18 from what I read, so he might be like number 19 or something. I think he is. I've got him there, but would not be surprised if he doesn't line up round one. And then we've got Ollie Henry, who some people might pick. I'm not that keen on him anyway. I don't think he'll score that well for the price we pay, but he might get in. And then we have Rusco, who might play as well. Instead of it'll be one of them two if one of them gets picked, or Cameron. I think you can pretty much throw a blanket over them. Magin had a good game. I think he played in the first, but Maynard sat it out from what I read, so he might not play. And Levi Greenwood, maybe Levi Greenwood gets that sire position as like a lockdown player or something. So that's where I'm thinking with Collingwood. Bianco definitely not there, so anyone still trying to hold on hope to him, he's gone. Yeah, get rid of him, and that's what I think that Collingwood will line up like. So let's move on to the next side, which will be Essendon. Essendon have well, two spots I think that could go to other players. I'm just not sure who they are. They could be some of the debutants that they were picking, or maybe that Waterman they signed. But I definitely think we'll be getting Harrison Jones. I think it's good. I think the game he plays, we'll know all the rookies out. So, like, if he's last resort, we can keep to that last resort and chuck him on as in your last forward spot because we'll know everything by then. So that's really good for our Essendon players, or in general, we'll know everything by the time they come out. So make sure you have that Saturday night 1 hour free. So if you need all the time, you can do it, or if you got a great side, you can just uh, sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride in that last hour while everyone else is panicking. I think Harrison Jones is a really good fallback as the player of last resort because he won't score that well, but he's someone that can fill a spot and will be a slow cash burn for us. The other one I have is Andrew McGrath and Caldwell. From what Rutten said, he said he liked Caldwell as an inside bull. McGrath didn't play any or much midfield at all in the preseason game, so maybe that is where it is. Maybe McGrath's on the wing and Parrish is in the middle. Yeah, that's something I've been skeptical all preseason, and I still am. I really want to look at that. Caldwell could be a really great option, and maybe I know a lot of people have him, so I might be behind the game for not picking him, or I'll be on target for not picking him. So it's a very hard pass, and with the craziness of this week ahead, he might end up in the side, but I'd rather not. I'd rather wait and see how this pans out. So that is Essendon. They've got a lot of injuries. I think I stated that yesterday. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking with Essendon. All right, on to Fremantle. Fremantle have pretty solid side. What we see is maybe Tracy and Meek. They might debut. I know I've got Sean Darcy there in the orange, so he looking less and less likely by the day. But who knows there? And even if Meek is picked, how long do we have him for? But he does look good. I'll give him that. I am a big Meek fan. I think we'll see Brayshaw Sarong Mundy in the middle to start off with at least. Maybe Shearer's a bit underdone, so he might get in there a bit later in the year. And I think Fife will push forward. But that being said, he's been in there all pre-season, so they might continue with Fife in the middle. I mean, if I'm not never a fan of chucking these guys forward. Coaches like to do it, but we'll have to wait and see with that one. We'll see. We'll know after round one. Hindsight's very easy. So there's that. I don't see besides those ruckman. I don't see any rookies available for Fremantle. So let's go on to our next side, which is Geelong. The big question is Jordan Clark. Is he going to play? I've slotted him on a bench, but I wouldn't be surprised if Mark O'Connor gets his spot instead. And they're like, oh, tough luck, kid. Try again next time, but we'll have to wait and see with that one. Again, not a good place for rookies. They've really loaded up this year. They're trying to get that flag. And we might see one or two token games from the rookies, or if they get on a big injury run because they're all old, who knows? They might start churning out some rookies, but I don't think it'll be a good hunting ground for our rookies here at Geelong. Other than that, I don't think I've got much on Geelong. That pretty stock standard. On to the Gold Coast. The Gold Coast have a lot of talent to pick from. I probably should have gone more crazy with my yellow on the side there because there is so much talent. They've got a big list. A lot of these guys are starting to come through. They should be playing. What I have gone for is this side you can see here. I've got Will Brodie attending centre bounces, another 500k guy. This is why we need more Amy series games, really. We need to see if that's real. We saw one game, maybe there's trialing in there. We don't know. I'm going to wait on Will Brodie. If he does turn out good scores, no reason I won't get him in my side early. So that we one to watch for me. The other one would be Darcy McPherson. I did another preseason ton. Does that mean anything? I don't know. Probably not. Probably sit in a forward role, and that will be the end of him again for this year. The other one, Matt Rao. Matt Rao, a hard one. I think I talked about this the other day with his centre bounces. They were there, but what capacity is he going to be in? We don't know. So we're just going to have to wait and see. No good rookies here really, so I'm going to give some miss, and we'll go on to GWS. The GWS side have again they got a lot of guys that could come in and out. I'm not sold on any of those guys in the yellow, and the guys in the orange under injury clouds, and the guys in yellow on the bench could come in for those guys. So we'll have to see what that looks like. I think Tanner Bruin is definitely on the field, and he might be another last like person last a Sunday midfielder we might have to get in because no one else has put their hand up. He does play after we know everything, so that could be the case. You might have to pick him depending on what your structure looks like. I think he will play forward, and I don't know what the scoring will look like for him. In previous seasons, you'd think GWS would just beat up sides, and that would be great for him. I don't know if they're going to do that this year. We're going to have to really wait and see what GWS look like a few rounds in. What I do have is Ward and Kelly on the wings, and then I have Trento, Cornelio, Hopper, and Tom Green as the main centre bounce rotation midfield guys. So that's just my prediction. It could be a little bit different, but that's what they have been lining up in the preseason. All right, on to Hawthorn. Hawthorn have also a few injuries, players that might be like they might come out or they might not. Tom Mitchell, I think, was tracking all right. Chad Wingard, I'm not sure. Mitch Lewis will be the big one if it's Mitch Lewis or Kajitsky. If it's Kajitsky, we get a nice defender, 170k. If not, back to the drawing board there. Maybe it's Iden, maybe it's Highmore. Don't know too many other names, really. Or that Butts from Adelaide, but you might be better off just picking someone that will be a scorer when they come in. The other one I have here is Brockman, missing out, who sides are starting to pick. So I don't know if he actually gets the call up. He might get Impey's spot, but it might be, or if Chad Wingard doesn't play, he might get that spot. So we'll have to see. I do have Downey on the wing there, so I think you can lock away Downey pretty confidently. But we'll have to wait and see what Clarko gives us on the Friday. I think Hawks side will come out on that Friday night. On to Melbourne. Melbourne also have a lot of injuries, players that could be selected that are under injury cloud, and a host of players that I'm not sure if they'll get picked or not. So Melbourne's a hard one to pick. Obviously, would love to know if James Jordan gets a game. Please, yeah, definitely. If Melbourne, if the web crew or whoever does the videos for those debuts, if they could go to his house and film the folks or something, that'd be great for us just to know if he's playing. How good would that be on like a Tuesday if it drops that he's playing? It would be a little less stressful. So let's hope that they do something like that for us. Other than that, I don't know. Maybe Bowie might get a game if Neville Jetta sucks, which he always does anyway. So don't know there. Yeah, so that's Melbourne. Plenty of opportunity. Let's hope that they get out to a few debutants and say that they're playing, and we'll be able to start building our sides from there. All right, on to Kangaroos. Kangaroos don't play till Sunday, so we should know their side Saturday night. And again, I think everyone thought that we'd get a host of rookies from North Melbourne, and you can see I've highlighted that the right hand side there, all yellow because they're all guys that could play. But when you actually look at their side, it's pretty much what they were running with late last year, with Tom Powell added. Obviously, there's a lot of like orange guys there that could not get up, or not could not, but might not get up, and you might get one of those yellow guys come in. But it's going to be interesting to see who actually gets the Guernseys for round one. So this is why that hour on Friday night is going to be, sorry, on Saturday night actually. Saturday night is going to be so important because there are going to be guys at North Melbourne that we might have to pick or might not, and across the board really, it's going to be really hard that rolling lockout, and that's why it's probably best to try keep those sides as open as possible. Even though I know I was looking at my side and I do have a lot of players at the front end of the round, so they'll be locked away and I won't be able to move around. So I'm going to talk a bit about that when I get to West Coast. All right, on to Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide, I believe I've had Pau Pepper has stepped away for some personal reasons, opening up a spot. I think that might be Willem Drew. He did play well on the weekend. I know he didn't play a game last year, but he might get a few call-ups early. That's definitely a spot that he could do, the Power Pepper role. That he would step right into that, no dramas. And then we're going to have to look. I'm not sold on Motlop being in the side, although they have historically picked him, so he might be in that side as a forward. And the other one is I've got the two backmen in orange, and if they don't play, we might get Bonner or we might get Bergman. And if it's Bergman, that's great. But again, Bergman won't be known until that last team drop. So that's why, for me, I'm going to have what it looks like at the moment is I've got Bergman on on my bench, and if he doesn't play, I'll swap him to Harrison Jones. That's my thinking for that last forward spot. Just because Bergman, will be a good scorer. Job security, not that great. Harrison Jones, poor scorer. fantastic job security. So they're the two that that's a swap that will be done on that Sunday night. All right, on to Richmond. Richmond have a pretty settled lineup. No rookies, two players under injury cloud. So we're just going to have to wait to see what that looks like. But I don't think we'll see much on. It'll be the first team drop. Will be very unexciting. There'll be no surprises. It will just be that. We'll be just looking at Carlton again. Even Carlton's not that. So it's going to be sort of a. We're going to be so keen for those teams to drop, and then we're going to realise, oh, there's not much here. It's going to be when Collingwood and Bulldogs they drop like an hour before this game. That's when me myself, I'm going to start. Yeah, oh, yep, who's there? Yep. And then definitely on that Friday night before that next game, is when the pandemonium starts. So yeah, that's a week away for us now. So let's look forward to that. All right, on to St Kilda. Now, big news from St Kilda is today being Saturday, that Tom Highmore seems to be ahead of Carlisle in the pecking order at St Kilda. So that's great for us if we get Highmore. He could be that 182 guy there for us in the defence. It's razor thin down there, so yeah, if he is selected, he's automatic selection. Can score alright, like can do a bit of intercept defending. Won't be the best scorer, but won't be the worst either. And probably what we want from a rookie. With St Kilda as well, they've also got Hunter. Hunter will only play a few rounds. I think Rowan Marshall seems 2 or 3. Paddy Ryder will be round 2 or 3. So that will be the end of him. I don't know if we should pick him or not. I don't. He might be let it go, and then we'll have to see. But it definitely would be a worry if you're thinking about that 170k ruck option. I don't think you'd have Hunter around for that long. Meek might not be around for that long. Then you'd be relying on like Fullerton and Flynn in whatever combination, and maybe Tracy as well. I don't know if the points would be there to do that, and it'd really be a sticky situation. So that's my thoughts on that. Other than that, St Kilda, I don't see any other rookies playing. Oh, they've probably got a spot in their bench. Uh, maybe Webster, maybe Bartel with Crouch being out. Maybe that's just what they do. They bring in Bartel for Crouch, and then when Crouch comes back, they can just be like, "Yep, here you go. Take that spot and Bartel back to the Rezzies." All right, on to my next side, which is Sydney. Sydney will be a side we look at. We'll know them Friday night, so that's very, very good. I have really bad news for myself as well as probably others. If this was the side, Chad Warner doesn't get picked. Sam Wicks got that role, and then it'll be interesting to see what they do. Do they play Logan McDonald or Callum Sinclair? Uh, yeah, that's probably one selection. Braden Campbell off half back. I've got him in yellow. Probably a bit conservative. I think he will play off half back. That's what they've been talking about. So Mills can get in the middle. And Goulden, I've got Goulden playing over Dylan Stevens and the likes of those players, which would be huge if he could get there. Although he has looked really, really good in the preseason, would be stiff to miss out now. So maybe it's Cunningham who drops out. I think I read something about the Swans wanting to pick more youth this year in another rebuild year. So maybe that's the way they go. All right, on to the Western Bulldogs. Western Bulldogs have a few players under injury clouds heading into round one, which is not the greatest. I think there was 2 spots on the bench which I couldn't pick. I just didn't know who to pick there, which is something I'll be looking out for. The other thing is Anthony Scott might be ahead of Joe Henderson as we look at it there. So Anthony Scott might be a really good rookie. The great thing is we'll know even before a game's played if he's playing. And the other one that I wanted to look out for on here, I don't think there was another one. Oh, Lachlan McNeil, but I don't think he'll be a fantasy scorer or job security. It depends if Vandermeer plays or not. We might get him, but we'll have to see. And obviously they've got 2 bench spots, so maybe it is Riley West who plays, and maybe Scott gets it and JJ. We don't know. But again, this will be an easy one. We'll know this before a game's even played, so we don't really have to worry about the Bulldogs selection table. All right, on to my last side, which is West Coast. I got through news today that Luke Shuey is out with a hamstring, which opens up a midfield spot. So I think that might give a spot in the team to Xavier O'Neill, who looked really good in the preseason. I was like, oh, if we could get him and he could do those sort of 80 scores with a few centre bounces for his price, that would be really, really good. Is that being a bit optimistic? Maybe. It might be. He might come in and score 60s, and I'd be not really the return I was looking for, but they do have some injury clouds. I think Tim Kelly will play, but that's one we'll have to watch. Rotham and Jermaine Jones' spots could be up for grabs as well. Although that being said, that their depth with Shuey injured isn't as great as it could be. So we'll have to see what West Coast. Now the other thing to remember with West Coast and the Gold Coast for that matter is they play last. So there might be a case for having one of a West Coast or a Gold Coast play you might like, and if something crazy happens on the Saturday announcements, you might be able to break glass in case of emergency and ditch them out, get a more mid-price player in, and use that cash to fix up rookies that didn't play or are doubtful and fix that up. So that's a tactic. It doesn't have to be like these guys are just up last. So you could even, with the rolling lockout, you could even do it right up to the second last game. But it can be just maybe just have a premium playing on the Sunday that you're like, oh, if worst case scenario, all the players I didn't think would be selected don't get selected. You can just break them, crack them down to a more like a player that's priced less and get the cash you need to do something with your rookies if there's no rookies, or you need to come up to someone like a Xavier O'Neill because there's just no one in the forward line or just stuff like that. So that's just a tactic to think about with the rolling lockouts. So there it is. There is my predicted sides, all 18 teams. I think it's a bit better than what you get from those articles where some of the journos do an alright job, I think, but when they go to the well with some of them, they just chuck something together in 5 minutes and go, there's your side without really thinking about what sides want or where players are positioned. So it's always better to do it yourself. I encourage you to do your own as well as look at mine, because you will know you should rate your own advice over mine. So there it is. That will be my last video before the preseason. Coming up in this upcoming season, I plan to do a weekly round review. That's how I'll get my content out there. And yeah, that's what it is. So good luck. Hopefully it's a stress-free week for you coming up to this fantasy time, although I know it never is today. So if you like this video, please slap a like on it, comment on it. Some of the comments from the last video are really good, so thanks guys, thanks very much. Please subscribe if you want to follow my round reviews each week, and I'll talk to you after round 1 to see how we all went. Thanks for listening, and bye.